It's Speaking Test 1 from Cambridge, Book 17. The questions are about history. First question is, what did you study in history lessons when you were at school? The answer is, in my history classes during secondary school, the teacher came, explained the gist of the chapter, sometimes gave extra information. He also discussed how to write the answers and all. All in all, he taught us good enough to score good in the exams. I believe this is the way they teach history in most of the Pakistani schools. The second question is, did you enjoy studying history at school? Why not? The answer is, yes, I like to learn about history. It is through history we come to know about the important events that gave way or shaped the way to progress or changes in any country. Also, history teaches us important lessons and we can learn from the achievements or mistakes of our ancestors. The third question is, how often do you watch TV programs about history now? Why not? The answer is, yes, I love to watch programs based on past history on television because watching any historical episode on television creates an interest in people to learn more about past culture and people get direct experience, they don't get bored. The fourth question is, what period in history would you like to learn more about? Why? The answer is, according to my readings till now, I like the period since the Second World War. World War II and the period of the Cold War are amazing and thrilling. Any war required lot of technological advancements. Most innovations, inventions and developments in science and technology take place during the war period. Part 2 is a cue card about describing the neighborhood you lived in when you were a child. You should say where in your town, city the neighborhood was. What kind of people lived there. What it was like to live in this neighborhood. And explain whether you would like to live in this neighborhood in the future. You will be given 60 seconds to brainstorm the ideas and note them down on a piece of paper. Then you have to speak about the topic for a couple of minutes. Let's start the cue card. The neighborhood, where I grew up as a child, was a small town. Well, I would describe it more like a city suburb, but it certainly had all the elements to offer happy living to a 7 to 8 years old child like me. By the way, prior to moving to that city suburb, my parents actually used to live in one of the major cities of my country which was very crowded and noisy for the likings of them. So, they decided to move to a small town, where I grew up as a child, in order to offer us an opportunity to remain close to the environment of the countryside. Since the town in which I grew up as a child was small, everything was within my reach. For example, the breakfast place, movie theater, and stadiums to enjoy all kinds of games were all in close proximity to my residence. Besides, if I rode on my bicycle for about 15 minutes on the brick-made pavement, I could easily visit a beautiful lake and cornfields. The streets, although just a few in numbers, were very wide which made it easy for me to play with my bicycle. Unfortunately, I don't live there anymore, and I am pretty sure that the place must have changed a lot in time because, after all, everything changes in time. Anyway, the place I am talking about was certainly a good place to grow up as a child. It was quiet and beautiful. It also had a very nice and clean environment. Besides, most of the people there were very friendly, and they didn't mind the business of their neighbors. All in all, it was a very simple and nice town for a laid-back child like me. Now move to part 3. We have to answer in detail by giving our opinion about something which has been asked about the cue card. The first question is, what sort of things can neighbors do to help each other? The answer is, I have good neighbors. They help me to clean my house, sometimes. They come to my house anytime for gossips. They sometimes study in my house. I do help them sometimes socially and financially. The second question is, how well do people generally know their neighbors in your country? The answer is, I would say I know most of my neighbors. We live in a suburban area where people spend their times with their friends and neighbors, and I know quite well the people who live next door. The third question is, having good neighbors is important because it makes our life in a neighborhood safer, happier and more fun. We also tend to have more peace of mind. Although we can choose our friends but not our neighbors, we must remember that we get what we give. The next question is, which facilities are most important to people living in cities? The answer is, cities have a very good supply of electricity and often have power plants near to it. Cities have good schools and colleges and universities, and many books are available which help with good education opportunities. Cities often have factories near them for the production of goods and materials for the people. The next question is, how does shopping in small local shops differ from shopping in large city center shops? The answer is, most people know that it's almost always better to shop with local stores and small chains than at larger, big box stores. From more personalized service to a higher quality selection of products, the consumer often walks away a lot happier in the end. It also helps support the local economy, which is more important now than ever. The last question is, do you think that children should always go to the school nearest to where they live? The answer is, generally, communities that are close to schools have more amenities. The schools have racks, playgrounds, fields and more. These areas are often open for community use when the school is not using them. Children have plenty of places to run and play. Plus, communities near schools often are family-friendly and have more items as well, such as hiking trails, playgrounds, pools, and more. There are a lot more entertainment options